The first thing he noticed was the silence. Not the peaceful kind, but the heavy, suffocating silence that presses down on your chest when grief has nowhere left to go. The cemetery was empty except for him and the grave he had visited every Sunday for 3 years. As the cold wind brushed past the worn headstone bearing his father's name, a shadow moved behind him. When he turned, his heart stuttered. A woman stood there, dressed in black, her face half hidden by the bare branches of an old oak tree. She was staring at his father's grave as if it belonged to her too, and when she finally spoke, her words would change everything he thought he knew about his past, his father, and himself. Before the story pulls you deeper, take a moment. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of compassion, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that need them most. Ethan had never imagined his life turning out this way. At 34, he was a single father to a 6-year-old daughter named Lily, juggling 2 part-time jobs in a constant undercurrent of exhaustion. His days were built on routines, waking before sunrise, packing Lily's lunch, dropping her at school, working until his hands ached, and returning home just in time to read her a bedtime story before collapsing into sleep. Sundays were different. Sundays belonged to his father. Visiting the grave was not just a ritual, it was a promise Ethan had made the day he lowered the casket into the ground, a promise that no matter how hard life became, he would not forget where he came from. His father, Robert, had raised him alone after Ethan's mother died when he was 9. Robert had been a quiet man with rough hands and tired eyes, working long hours at a factory that barely paid enough to keep food on the table. But to Ethan, his father was a giant, a man who sacrificed without complaint, who never missed a school event even if he arrived smelling of oil and sweat, who taught him that integrity mattered more than money. When Robert passed away suddenly from a heart attack, Ethan felt as though the ground beneath him had cracked open. The grief never fully left, it simply learned to sit quietly beside him. That Sunday, the weight felt heavier than usual. Bills were piling up. Lily's school had sent another notice about overdue fees. The landlord had hinted at a rent increase. Ethan stood before the grave, hands shoved into his coat pockets, whispering apologies into the cold air. Apologies for not being able to give Lily everything, for feeling like he was failing at the very lessons his father had taught him. That was when he sensed someone watching him. The woman did not look like she belonged there, yet somehow she fit perfectly into the scene. Her posture was tense, as though she was holding herself together by sheer will. There was a sadness in her eyes that mirrored his own, a familiarity that unsettled him. She moved closer to the grave, her gaze fixed on his father's name. Ethan felt a flicker of irritation mixed with confusion. This grave was his private place of mourning, yet something in her presence stopped him from speaking. When she finally addressed him, her words were calm but heavy, as if each one carried years of unspoken truth. She said she had been looking for this grave for a long time, that she owed his father more than she could ever repay. Ethan felt his chest tighten. His father had been many things, but mysterious was not one of them. Or so he thought. As the woman continued, fragments of a story began to form, and Ethan's understanding of his father shifted in ways that left him unsteady. She explained that decades ago, when she was young, desperate, and alone, Robert had crossed her path on one of the darkest nights of her life. She had been homeless, pregnant, and terrified, standing outside the same factory where Robert worked. She had expected to be ignored, maybe even chased away. Instead, Robert had done what he always did. He helped, quietly, without expecting recognition. He had given her money he could not afford to spare, found her a safe place to stay, and checked on her until she was stable enough to stand on her own. He never told anyone. He never spoke of her again. And yet, his kindness had altered the course of her life. She went on to build a future, to raise a child, to become someone she was proud of. For years she searched for the man who saved her, but life moved quickly, and she was always a step behind. When she finally discovered his name, she learned she was too late. Ethan felt a strange mix of emotions rising within him. Pride, disbelief, and a sharp ache of regret. He had known his father was kind, but this story revealed a depth of quiet heroism he had never imagined. It also stirred something painful. If his father had been capable of such generosity while struggling himself, What excuse did Ethan have for feeling so defeated? The woman's visit did not end with gratitude alone. She revealed that she had returned not just to say thank you, but to fulfill a promise she had made to Robert all those years ago. A promise to pass forward the kindness she had received, especially when the opportunity finally presented itself. She had learned of Ethan through public records while searching for Robert, and she had been watching from a distance, unsure of how to approach him. Seeing him there, alone at the grave, had given her the courage. Ethan listened as the wind rustled through the trees, feeling as though the world had tilted slightly off its axis. The struggles he had been carrying suddenly felt visible, exposed in a way that made him uncomfortable. He prided himself on self-reliance, on not asking for help. That pride had been inherited from his father, but perhaps he had misunderstood the lesson. Strength, he realized, was not about enduring in silence. It was about knowing when to accept a hand offered in sincerity. Over the following weeks, the woman became a quiet presence in Ethan's life, not as a savior, but as a reminder. She helped him navigate resources he had never known existed, connected him with opportunities that eased the financial strain, and offered support without pity. More importantly, she shared stories of Robert. Small moments, kind gestures, details that made Ethan feel closer to his father than he had in years. Through her, Robert felt alive again, not just as a memory but as an influence still shaping lives. Ethan began to see changes within himself. The constant heaviness lifted slightly, replaced by a cautious hope. He found himself more patient with Lily, more open to the idea that life could improve without betraying the hardships that had come before. He started volunteering occasionally, helping others in small, manageable ways, honoring his father's legacy not through grand gestures, but through consistency and compassion. The true challenge, however, came when Ethan was forced to confront his deepest fear, that he would never be enough for his daughter. One evening, as he watched Lily sleep, he understood something profound. His father had not been perfect. He had struggled, failed, and doubted himself too. Yet love had filled the gaps where money and certainty were absent. That love was what endured. That love was what had reached a desperate young woman decades earlier, and what now circled back to support Ethan when he needed it most. The cemetery visit that began as a routine act of mourning transformed into a turning point. The mysterious woman's words echoed in Ethan's mind, not as a shocking revelation alone, but as a call to live differently, to trust that kindness multiplies in ways unseen, to believe that even the smallest acts can ripple across generations. As seasons changed, Ethan continued visiting his father's grave, but the weight he carried there felt lighter. He no longer came only with apologies. He came with stories of Lily's laughter, of small victories, of moments when he chose hope over despair. He felt his father's presence not just beneath the stone, but in every decision to help, to forgive, to keep going. If this story has touched your heart even a little, please take a moment now. Like the video, share it with someone who might need encouragement, and subscribe to the channel for more stories that celebrate compassion and resilience. Your engagement truly matters. And before the story ends, we have a special request for you. Please comment below with one word that describes how this story made you feel. Your words may inspire someone else who is silently struggling. In the end, Ethan learned that life does not always reward us immediately for doing the right thing. Sometimes the return comes years later, through unexpected faces and forgotten promises. Standing at his father's grave one final time before winter set in, Ethan felt a quiet peace settle over him. The mysterious woman's appearance had not just revealed a hidden chapter of his father's life, it had opened a new chapter in his own. A chapter rooted in gratitude, strengthened by humility, and guided by the simple truth that kindness never truly disappears. It waits patiently until the moment it is needed most.